The laws of logic are propositions. God's understood to know everything. You can know propositions. God does not know propositions. Therefore, God does not know at least some things, which would be the propositions, the law of logic. Therefore, God's not omniscient. Therefore, he doesn't exist.
Okay, so why would God not know propositions?
Okay, so does God know through propositions?
The proposition.
Like a part of it, like his.
What you talking about, Willis?
Well, it's his knowledge. A bunch of Pmars. You said you never wanted to talk to me again, so please abstain. So are you saying that God knows everything? He knows all the propositions. That's why he knows everything.
I mean, you have to at that point.
Yeah, he would have
Yeah,
to.
why would
Okay, good. You defeat this argument. God. Gotcha. Okay, God knows by the proposition. You defeat this argument. Okay, second argument. Externalism about mental content is true. Internalism about mental content is false. If God existed sans creation, he would have to know things internally. Therefore, God can't exist. Which premise do you disagree with?
I'd have to hear it again. You went real fast, Pot.
Say it again.
Yeah, you get real deep syllogisms on me, and I have to try and keep up. So slow boy it and try.
Yeah, no, I talk like a
talk
crazy
to me
person.
like I'm in 5th grade.
Yeah, we're all dumb Christians. So
let's say okay, yeah. Externalism about mental content is true, which is to say that what gives your thought meaning are things outside your mind.
Yeah, pass.
Sans creation, there's nothing external to God's mind. Therefore, therefore God's mind.
Whoa, nothing external to God's
internalism.
mind. What do we do with that? Hold on a second. Nothing external to God's mind?
Yeah, before creation, there was sans creation, there was nothing external.
Truth couldn't correspond.
Which means everything God knew. Yeah, therefore, everything God knew was internal to his mind, which is a contradiction. It's against externalism.
Yeah,
that's a good argument.
We would say truth corresponds to the mind of God, not truth corresponds to reality.
Okay, great. So you're saying externalism is false, internalism about God's mind is true. God knows things internally. Is that correct?
God knows things internally?
Yeah, he knows things in virtue of his mind, not in virtue of things outside.
The
of his mind.
internalist-externalist distinction would apply to God because he would be the ground of knowledge.
Well, think about it. Look, if he existed sans creation, there was no external world. So if he knows anything at all, it would have to be in virtue of just his mind, right?
Yeah, but he doesn't exist in a vacuum, though. There's his own kingdom in which he's propagating from. So that doesn't make sense. Well, who said that?
There is nothing external to God because he is the ground of being. So, it makes sense to talk about an externalist internalist distinction in regards to God. I think this is the fundamental misunderstanding of you don't know what it means to be the ground of knowledge and being. You just don't know what these things mean because
okay. But what about the creator-creation distinction?
Philosophy.
Also, Tupac, I would say that your first premise that you had on the very first question about propositions. God knows all true propositions, not all propositions. All that would be true.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. He knows all true propositions. But the conclusion that you defeat that argument with is God knows all the propositions, all the true propositions. Sure. Maybe you could even say he knows the false ones, but he knows they're false too. Whatever. Who cares? That has nothing to do here, near there. Look, if you want to say that everything is within God's mind or something like that, okay, that would be an internalist. It would just be internalism anyway. But don't you want to say that there's this creator-creation distinction?
Yeah, we have to at that point. Right? We have to.
Yeah, so I'm not saying he can't.
But I actually emailed a PhD philosopher, James Anderson, about this internalist-externalist distinction. He's like, he doesn't really apply to God because he's the ground of knowledge, man. So nothing would exist external to God.
Okay, so if nothing exists external to God, then internalism is true. It just means that everything that you know is on virtue of your mind. It's not like you don't have to use the semantics. It's just what the words mean, though.
Doesn't James Anderson think propositions are thoughts?
Yeah, he thinks that too. So he would go through with this. So look, all you have to say is look, externalism about mental content is false. And that's just to say that you can know things externally. That's possible, but it's not strictly true that you have to know things externally to know things.
You're chasing a red herring with the internalist-externalist thing. You're just chasing a red herring.
Okay, great. Well, you agree with this. Do things have to be outside of God's mind for him to know things?
For him
to know things, yeah.
No.
Knowledge is what's
then you would disagree. Then you disagree with externalism. You're an internalist by definition.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think you.
Now-
I think this is a problem with analytical philosophy versus continental philosophy. You're not really
Right,
getting.
well, does God know things within his mind?
You're not understanding what it means for God to be the ground of being.
Does God know things in virtue of only his mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He knows things in virtue of that. He's the ground of knowledge. I don't know why you don't understand.
Okay, but that's just vague language. We could.
Okay.
That's just vague language.
Study continental philosophy and figure it out, dude. I mean, you spend all this time studying your secular philosophy.
I thought you said
take
you didn't
like
want to talk to me
5
anymore,
seconds out of your time, and like look into continental philosophy on these issues. So then we won't have these problems.
Okay, so he knows things, right, in virtue of them, somewhat connected to his mind.
Pac, check this out. I looked up the question on GPT. I got an answer.
One argument is if content internalism is true, if content internalism is true.
No, I get where you're going now. Hey, Pac, you want to hear this or not?
If initialism is possible, then God's impossible, therefore God doesn't exist.
Pac, you want to hear this? Pac!
The Holy Spirit searches all things of the mind of God also.
So here's what ChatGPT says. ChatGPT says God's knowledge is not passive. Then it puts it in parentheses like ours. Human knowledge is receptive. We learn about things that are already exist independently of us. We observe the external world, gather data, and form ideas. Our knowledge is dependent on the existence of the object we are observing. God's knowledge is causative and creative. He does not learn about a world that exists outside of him. Instead, his knowledge is what brings the world into existence and sustains it. The concept of ideas in the divine mind. And then it continues a little further. You want me to read that or what?
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's just internalism.
Yeah.
That's just what I was asking you guys to.
Do you want me to? So you do want me to read it or no?
Well, I mean,
internalist distinction. I don't see how you can have an internalist externalist distinction when nothing is external to God, being that He's the ground of knowledge.
It would just make externalism false to God, obviously. There's nothing like right, and that would just make internalism true.
Understanding what it means for God to be the ground, like you're talking about God as if He's like a being instead of the ground of being.
No, I'm not. All I'm saying, internalism just says you know things in virtue of what's in your mind. That's all.
You have a fundamental misunderstanding of what God is, and this is like all the problems.
All you're doing is repeating yourself.
Okay.
And stop talking to me. You said you never know to talk to me again, so stop.
Man, y'all's drama, dude. Y'all's baggage. I gotta carry y'all's baggage every time.
I mean, he's the one that. Yeah, he crashed out on me and started crying, and then said, "I never want to talk to you again." So stop. Stay up to your word.
Well, anyway, Pac, listen to this. This is what it says. Implications and why this matters. One, it rejects pantheism. The view not pantheism and believes that everything is God. The characters are not the author. Creation is real and distinct as the grounding of the mind because of its mind properties. Its existence is utterly dependent on him, much like the story is dependent on the author. Here's a conclusion. For God to know and to cause to be are ultimately the same act. Things do not need to exist outside of his mind for him to know them. Rather, his knowing them is precisely what gives them existence. His knowledge is not a foreign reality, but one of his own creative will. Fascinating, mate. That's fascinating.
Yep. That's pretty much what Pmars says, and that's what I'm accepting. You're supposed to deny P1 where externalism is true about God.
Well, and what I was saying was that the Holy Spirit searches the full mind of God also, that you're not exegeting.
All right, so anyway, if internalism is true, which is just to say you know things in virtue of what's in your mind, then Cartesian scenarios are possible. If Cartesian scenarios are possible, then omniscience is impossible, therefore God's impossible.
Hold on a second. Hey, give me the last one again.
If
you're putting some Descartes stuff on me, right? Cartesian?
Yeah, if Cartesian scenarios are possible, then omniscience is impossible, therefore God's impossible because he's omniscient.
If you ask Tupac keeps talking about this internalism, externalism distinction about God's knowledge, but if you actually ask an AI, I just asked Grok, it says the same thing I said, that God's knowledge would transcend this distinction.
I can look up at things on AI as long as I'm forward with it, as long as I'm not just like pretending it's me. That's my philosophy. If you're going to use ChatGPT, just tell me,
Yeah, so I looked it up. I mean, it's just confirmed what I said, that God's knowledge would transcend this distinction. The criteria of these internalism and externalism distinctions just wouldn't apply to like the ground of being. I guess Tupac, you just don't care about your mistake, or
Well, by Cartesian, so let me ask this. So by Cartesian's theory of impossibility, drawing a distinction, does this necessarily follow that internalism and externalism rule out?
Oh, wait a minute. I'm getting background. Yeah, so I mean, I don't see how that breaks does violence to the internalist definition.
You said the
what I'm reading
violence?
here, it just says that
You said the violence of the
is a
internalist?
foil. Is it a foil? Is a foil to internalism? You know, whatever. Look, all it means is that when you know something, which is going to be true as God, it's going to be in virtue of his mind alone. That's all it means, right? It's not about being it can fully incorporate the fact that God creates facts, and that's all he knows about them. That's fine.
Simplified. We have only direct access to the ideas in our mind. Application. Here's why the argument fails according to ChatGPT. You ready for the ChatGPT answer?
Yeah.
It makes a category error. He was just another object within the universe that we must detect with our senses and reason. Classical theism defines God as the ground of all being, and that's exactly what
Who said
Pmars
that?
Exactly.
Who said
exactly
that?
what Mars
Oh,
said.
jeez. It's like Pmars is always right, Tupac.
Well, I can grant
How's it
Well
feel?
done,
Yeah.
Mars.
Good
How's that
job.
feel, Tupac?
I consider the source.
Yeah, but I can
GPT,
grant
I
that.
don't know.
I'm granting that.
You want to admit I'm right? I'd love to hear the words.
Yeah,
Pmars
I'm
is
granting
right.
that.
Yeah. You're
I'm
going to say you're going
granting
to
all
admit it?
that.
I'm
I'm
right?
granting what ChatGPT.
I'm right?
I'm granting what ChatGPT is saying.
So you agree with me then?
No, of course not. Are you gonna shut up?
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
This is atheism.
we're gonna
This is the
yeah,
character.
we know. Look, I can just grant that God. Can you stop? I can just grant that God, right, actually is alone in the world. He causes everything, and everything that he knows, right, are the only things that exist. But the problem with that is that if he knows by way of propositions, which you guys conceded to in the first argument, then the proposition, let's say, there is a greater God, right, above you that makes you think that you know things like everything, but you don't actually know anything, right? He actually can't know that to be true or false. He can't know that to be false.
Well, now you get into the ontological argument because God is the greatest being, and so therefore there is no one above him.
I just granted that. But look, the point is that he can't know he's the greatest being.
No, he knows.
He knows propositions, which you guys conceded to, and there's a proposition, there's a greater God above me that created me or something like that.
But he knows he's the greatest.
Right.
No, he can't. No, he can't know he's the greatest because there's this proposition that he can't know.
There's nothing outside of him, right?
I'm granting that, yeah. But say in actuality, that's true. My point is that he can't know that to be true because he has to deal with this proposition. There's a baby God that created me, like a Lego set.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
To go, but see you guys.
Yeah, man. Everything I pull up on the web, dude, is saying, "Where you go? Where'd he go?"
He said he had to go.
He had to do something, he said.
Yeah. So the core.
he ran.
The core of the. So anyway, this is what it says. The core of the objection. What are you laughing at?
He ran. I don't think he ran. I think he was going to do something.
Oh,
No.
I don't think he ran.
That's something that Constantine would have said. But okay.
All right, is my microphone working?
Yeah, your microphone's working.
Okay, I'd like to speak with you, Constantine, for 2 minutes without being interrupted by anyone on the panel. Is that possible?
Everyone mute up. Everyone mute up and let Darth Dawkins speak.
Okay, I'm not really here to participate. I'm here to inform you. Okay? Are you aware of the fact that Tupac is a notorious troll from Clubhouse on Discord? He's a pathological liar. He stalks, he harasses people, not only myself. He engages in doxing. Okay? Are you aware that he has persistently conducted himself like this for several years on social networks, including Clubhouse and Discord and TikTok?
I'm hearing it from you.
Okay, have you heard it from anybody else?
I've heard rumors of Pac's behavior. Yes.
Who did you hear from?
I don't want to dox them online, but yes, people
So
told me about Pac.
you heard rumors, or were there individuals who gave you, so to speak, eyewitness testimony of his conduct?
There were.
Okay, so do you doubt that you've got multiple testimonies from Christians as to the utter vile and despicable behavior on the part of Tupac, who goes by other names on Discord? You go by the name Cool Guy Jeff on Discord.
I understand that you have a problem with Tupac.
No. The issue is not me having a problem. See, what you're doing is you're diverting from what I'm saying to you, okay? Okay, so you've had multiple people give you eyewitness testimony about his utter vile and persistent despicable behavior. Not just even directed with me, but directed at other people. Stalking, trolling, harassing, pathologically lying, being disruptive, just lying about all sorts of things in order to be a contrarian. So you've gotten this testimony from multiple Christians?
I've gotten this testimony from you and your protege.
Okay, so do you doubt my credibility?
I do not doubt your credibility.
So are you going to continue to host him?
Yes.
Okay, you're a scumbag. Bye, scumbag.
Good draw, God. You think?
What was that for?
So here's the deal. If I were to listen to what everyone else says about a particular person and then judge them on that character alone, let's say if I take that category and use that same logic to my wife, she would have never married me. I understand that Pac has given people a hard time before. However, he's never given me a hard time. Christ came to break bread with the prostitutes, tax collectors, and the sinners. Why should I not take Christ's example and engage with someone who's engaging with me? He's never tried any low blows with me. I understand that he has a bad reputation amongst Christians, but I believe Pac gives as good as he gets. I will take what the eyewitnesses have told me about it into consideration, but until Pac applies this same modality to me, why should I take Darth Dawkins' leadership counsel? Now, I will also say this about you, Darth Dawkins. You are senior to me. You have my utmost admiration and respect. I learn a lot from you. I also understand that you dislike me. However, your dislike for someone else does not equivocate and inherent to me. And your dislike for me does not necessarily follow that I have to have a dislike for you. You can continue to dislike me all you want, but I will continue to respect and admire you. However, I will not conduct my life in the same fashion that you do. I'm sorry, Darth, that you have taken this position against me. It hurts me. However, we do not align or agree with how we handle host.
I don't align with calling somebody a scumbag for no reason at all, just because you disagree with them.
Welcome to my world.
No, you don't know. Like the guys, like there's a long history there.
There is
you
a long
supposed
history,
to
but that
forgive
history
your
is
enemy?
fine. And here's what happened. Here's what'll happen. Let's say Darth is. Let's grant Darth's argument, and he's correct. Let me be the one to burn, and not him. Right? He's learned the lesson. I haven't. Let me learn it on my own. But until Pac shows me otherwise on this panel and on this host, I will not reject Pac from being on my panel.
Wait, isn't Darth being contradictory? Aren't you supposed to love your enemy?
Yeah.
You're supposed to weaponize Bible verses.
Listen, I'm not going to weaponize a Bible verse against Christians. This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say this from Darth can dislike me all he wants. I do not have to dislike Darth. I realize Darth has zero respect for me. That doesn't mean that I have to have zero respect for him. I respect Darth. He's been here a lot longer than me. He knows a lot more than me. Maybe he's right. I'm not sure, but I haven't been proven otherwise. I will take his eyewitness. I will take his testimony under consideration, but I will not make a ruling on it in front of a crowd. So just to reject someone, because if that would apply that same logic to myself, I wouldn't even be allowed in churches.
No, I'm with you, man. If someone tells me something bad about someone, I have my own opinions about people. I don't base my opinions about people off other people's opinions, if that makes sense.
Dude, you obviously look like you're in shape, dude. Would you take advice from a person that's not in shape about getting in shape?
I would actually. That wouldn't be.
I wouldn't.
This is what I'm not going to allow. I am not going to allow anyone to badmouth Darth Dawkins on this panel. If Darth wants to badmouth me or whatever, he can do that on his panel, but I'm not going to let it happen on my panel. If he has a problem with me letting up Tupac or Logic, that's not his problem. That's mine. They haven't mistreated me, so I will continue to position them. Now, if it's the arguments that I know he's not afraid of the arguments, he's afraid of the character. I have not seen that character.
Well, I admire you.
I appreciate what I think Darth has done Darth has done a lot for the body of Christ, and we should be
Yes.
appreciative of it.
I admire you.
I'm appreciative of Darth Dawkins.
I admire you for what you said, Constantine. I think that very much showing good fruit in my opinion.
It hurts me that he thinks it hurts me that he thinks of me in such low character. I have to take that. By no means am I going to reciprocate that same opinion about him. I hold him in a very high regard. That's where I'm going to leave it. And then he's come up on the live. He shared his opinion about me. I get it. I do not reciprocate the opinion, and I refuse to. I refuse to engage in a conflict with him in an open panel. I'll just take the L and let him move along. Fair enough? Now, I would also appreciate if the panel does not join in some sort of Darth hate session. I will not allow it.
Oh,
good?
we're grown men, and if you don't like it, there's the door. Get the F out.
Yeah.
Look,
Oh, Jay, I wanted to.
nothing but love for Darth. That's where I'd like to leave it. I'd like the conversation to move on.
Yeah, sure. OJ, I just wanted to tell you, I learned a lot about fitness from Brad Schoenfeld. I'm in way better shape than him, but I've learned a lot. Most of the things I've learned is from him. So yeah, I would absolutely take advice from someone in worse shape than me.
Enough. I mean,
So
we finished.
yeah. Also, I wanted to kind of illustrate what I was getting about